So Microsoft has announced that Windows 11 is to be an Agentic OS. And, well, let's take a look at what that entails and how things look for the future. What does Microsoft mean by an Agentic OS? By Agentic OS, Microsoft means an operating system where AI agents are first-class citizens. Not just chatbots, but long-running stateful assistants that can act on behalf of users, reason across context, and perform multi-step tasks. These agents are more than simple automations. They're meant to understand context, decide on actions, and execute on various resources, file, apps, or settings, if permitted. Microsoft frames this as empowering users. You describe an outcome, and the agent works for you. A key piece is something they call the Agentic Workspace. It's a separate Windows desktop/session environment where AI agents run. Each agent runs under its own Windows account, separate from your main user account. This means agentic actions are distinguishable and auditable. Microsoft claims these workspaces are lightweight but secure, more efficient than a full virtual machine while still providing isolation. They're using the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, a standard originally from Anthropic that helps AI agents interface with applications, tools, and Windows internal services. MCP provides connectors so that agents can request access to parts of the system, for example, file system or apps, in a controlled way. There's also an on-device registry for agents, so there's a system-level way to manage what agents are installed, what they're allowed to do, and so on. Microsoft lays out security principles for the agentic model: distinct agent identity, limited privileges, signed/trustworthy agents, and explicit authorization by the user. They intend for all agent actions to be observable, that is, you can see what the agent's doing, and non-repudiable, so you can audit. By default, agentic features are an opt-in in Windows 11. There are limits. For example, agents initially may only access known folders, documents, desktop, downloads, pictures, etc., unless you explicitly grant more. Interestingly, Microsoft also warns of new security risks, more on that later, and is rolling things out carefully via preview. Ask Copilot will be more embedded in the taskbar. You can start conversations, issue commands, or invoke agents from a unified interface. Agents can run in the background, and the taskbar will show status badges, for example, a working indicator or a notification if the agent needs your permission. Copilot is also being integrated into File Explorer to help you do things like summarizing documents or extracting data directly from files. There's a Hey Copilot voice feature, letting you use voice commands to trigger these agentic capabilities. By giving agents real autonomy, Microsoft argues that users can offload repetitive or context-heavy tasks. For example, organizing files, summarizing content, automating workflows, so they can focus on higher-level work. If Windows becomes a first-class Agentic OS, it becomes central to how AI agents orchestrate and act across the PC. That could strengthen Microsoft's ecosystem developers, build agents compatible with Windows. Microsoft can control how agents get managed, and Windows remains deeply relevant. They claim they're building in strong controls, isolation, identity, and consent, so that agents don't become security nightmares. Microsoft envisions a mix similar to what Apple has been putting forward. Some AI runs on device, some in the cloud, depending on the needs. This could give responsiveness via local inference and power via the cloud. By embracing MCP, Microsoft isn't just baking in its own agents, it's building a platform so third-party agents can integrate consistently across Windows apps. This isn't purely altruistic, of course. By making Windows the orchestration layer for agents, Microsoft ensures that future workflows, automations, and AI-based productivity will go through its platform. If agents become more capable, they could drive greater usage of Microsoft 365, OneDrive, Azure, etc. There are legitimate trade-offs and risks. Here are some key points. Microsoft says the agent workspace is lightweight and scales resource usage, but that doesn't guarantee zero overhead, and you are adding a lot of complex interactions. Depending on how many agents are active and what they're doing, you could see a non-trivial performance impact, especially on less powerful machines. Agents will have access to user files, documents, desktop, if granted. Even though Microsoft promises explicit user consent, logs, and transparency, that doesn't eliminate risk. What if an agent misbehaves or is malicious or flawed in its reasoning? There are concerns about whether data access by agents could be used by Microsoft for model training, data collection, or telemetry. Some coverage and user reactions raise this as a big red flag. The malware risk. Microsoft explicitly warns of novel security risks, including cross-prompt injection, where malicious content could manipulate an agent into doing harmful or unexpected things. Great. Because agents run under their own accounts, if compromised, that could become a new attack surface. While Microsoft says you can interrupt or monitor agent actions, in practice, less technical users may not fully understand what agents are doing, what permissions have been granted, or how to revoke them. There's a risk agent could make mistakes, for example, perform actions you didn't intend or misinterpret your request, the classic genie problem in AI. By embedding agents deeply in the OS, Microsoft could steer users towards using agent-powered workflows that favor Microsoft's own services. But, Microsoft has never done that before, so not to worry. Then users who don't want this agentic feature could be marginalized, or that enabling these features becomes more of a default down the road. Some users on Reddit and elsewhere are deeply skeptical. Others worry about permissions creep. Once agents can do more, how easy will it be to dial things back? And will users even notice what the agents are doing? Microsoft likely sees Agentic OS as the future of personal computing, where AI does much of the quote-unquote busy work. To be a leader in that world, they need to own the OS-level infrastructure. Other companies, such as big cloud and AI players, are pushing Agentic AI. So Microsoft probably feels urgency to integrate deeply rather than leave the orchestration layer to someone else. The more automation and AI runs through Microsoft's stack, the more likely users and businesses will be locked into its ecosystem. For corporate users, Agentic AI could be very attractive. Standardized automation, identity/audit controls, and managed agents could mean big efficiency gains, especially at scale. Based on what Microsoft has said so far and what the early preview signals are, this can be very powerful. For repetitive, mundane tasks or for people who want to delegate more to AI, Agentic Windows could offer significant productivity boosts. The security, privacy, and trust risks are non-trivial. Even with, sandboxing or isolation, there's more attack surface. And AI doing things on my behalf always runs the risk of mistakes or unintended side effects. The success, from a user's perspective, will heavily depend on how transparent these agents are, how fine-grained the permissions are, and how easy it is to monitor or shut them off. There is a clear strategic motive for Microsoft here beyond just helping users. They are working to build an OS that's deeply tied into Agentic AI, which could strengthen their ecosystem dominance. This doesn't necessarily mean they don't care about users, but their incentives definitely align strongly with building this architecture. If I were advising a normal user, not necessarily a power user, I would caution, wait and watch. Try agentic features when they're stable, but be cautious about enabling everything right away, especially if you have sensitive data or are just, naturally risk-averse. It's a brave new world out there. So that's another video in the can. If you found this informative or interesting, please consider liking and subscribing down below. And remember, be excellent to each other.